Welcome to the homestead. So over the past 3 years since Sarah and I have been married, we've been working on reducing the waste output from our house. Part of doing so is this compost bin behind you, and the ones over here that you can't see are behind me, and then the ones over here that you can't see. And then we plan on increasing our quail and our chickens in the spring, or getting chickens in the spring. And the quail and chickens can eat some of the vegetable waste scrap and some meat waste. But we can't compost, we don't want to feed chickens to chickens, and we don't want to feed dead birds and bird scrap, offal from cleaning the birds to the birds, because that's how you get diseases. So that's where this bucket comes in here. We're turning this into a black soldier fly larva composter, so we can throw meat waste in here, and black soldier flies will lay eggs in here, and then those eggs will hatch and the larva will eat the meat, and then the eggs will fall out, or the larva will work their way out of here, fall out of the bucket, and be eaten by the chickens, and we can collect them and feed them to the quail. So let's get started on building that. What we need to do is put a hole in the lid so the flies can get in to lay their eggs. So I'm just gonna mark where that goes. Could use a spade bit. Let me see if I have a spade bit that size. So a lot of my spade bits have gotten lost or broken over the years, and I need to replace them. So you could also use a hole saw. So what we're gonna do is just drill a couple of holes in here. See if these shears will cut through here. I doubt it. No, that's definitely not gonna work. Let's switch to the knife. So I got the hole cut. It's not the smoothest hole, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And then this slides down. It's a nice tight fit. That's what we want. Went ahead and put the T on there. Now we gotta cut the coupler. Should leave a little bit of space for the lid. Whatever. We're gonna come down slightly past half the width of the coupler, and that should cut this right where we need it. If you don't have PVC cutters, you can use a saw. You can actually use a string to cut PVC. These cutters need sharpened. They're pretty cheap and pretty old. I'll just shove that through there. Now we can put the coupler on the bottom. Doesn't quite seat all the way to the stop in the coupler, but it's not important. And then a lot of the videos I watch, they cut they put pipe coming out of the sides of the T here and cut them at an angle for the flies to be able to get in, but rain not to get in. I don't know how important that is, but I'm gonna do it because I've never built one of these before. When I build a second one, I think I'm gonna go without that. Experiment to see if that part's actually necessary. There's a Japanese farmer named Moshiago. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Anyway, there's a Japanese farmer. He wrote the book One Straw Revolution, and in it he talked about how he made his farm more efficient, more profitable by just slowly removing things to see how necessary they were. Sorry about the banging noise. Daniel's finishing tearing down the playhouse. You need a few drain holes in the bottom, because as the black soldier fly larvae eat things and the meat does its rotting thing, makes juices, and we don't want the soldier flies to drown. I don't think we need very many holes in here. That should be enough. And then hopefully I drilled those holes far enough from the edge and come back here from the inside and clean that burr off. Clean that little bit of swarf out of there. Isn't that important? But, or isn't necessary. But we should take the time to do the best we can. The Bible says, do all work as if you're working for God. Don't always do that, but I should strive to do that more often. Strive to do the best quality thing I can do all the time. Don't be like a Philistine and just do the bare minimum. We don't want the larvae falling down through the holes, and also we don't want the stuff we put in here to compost and for the larvae to eat to clog the holes. So I cut half a dozen little chunks of the scrap PVC. This is half inch or 3/4 inch PVC. This whole thing is built out of scrap PVC, an old bucket I got from the Chinese restaurant. The only things that aren't like scrap or used or recycled is this tee and this coupler, and I buy contractor packs of those, so I have plenty laying around. Even this, we're going to use in a second, is a piece of trash from work. Anyway, to measure these, I didn't care how long they were, but I wanted them uniform, so I just cut them all the same width to the end of the saw. And I use my PVC cutters for that, so just set those in there. Now we're going to take this and build like a false bottom. Not sure how big to cut it. I know it needs to be slightly bigger than the bottom. So I'm going to measure the bottom and then cut to the outside of the Sharpie line. I don't know if that's the right answer, but that's what I'm doing. I tried to do my best to stay on the outside of the Sharpie line. And if you don't have this random piece of plastic I got out of the trash at work, you can just use another bucket lid. But staying on the outside of the Sharpie line might have been a mistake. I did trace the bottom of the bucket, but I forgot that the bucket has thickness to it. So this actually doesn't fit all the way down flat. It's just a little bit too big. So I think tracing the bottom and then cutting on the inside of the Sharpie line may be the best bet. Use tin snips or whatever you got. These are actually vinyl cutting shears. I got them out of a tool pouch from cleaning up my grandma's place, from a place she used to work. And I worked there for a few months before I found a better paying job. But they make the seals that go around the outside of your doors of your cars. So cutting a lot of the rubber. And these are in pretty rough shape. I sharpened them a little so that they'd actually cut some. And I also had to ping over this rivet. I just put it on the hitch of my truck and smacked it with a ball-peen hammer. Just hit it a few times, test it, hit it lightly, test it. If you get them too tight, you can't go back. These might need tightened up a little bit. But I'm going to get these things sharpened up and cleaned up really well and put them in regular use as my tools. And then whenever I use them, they'll be a reminder of my family history. A bunch of trimming, I got that to fit down in there. And there's a nice gap around most of the outside. That's perfect. It'll let the water and juices run out to the bottom. What a lot of people do with these is they'll put a hole and then they'll build some sort of ramp out of vinyl tubing and all kinds of crazy contraptions to get the larva to come out the hole into a collection thing. I'm just going to put this bucket where the chickens will have access around it and underneath it. I don't think I'll need that little hole. I've seen a few people do it, or that complicated mechanism. I've seen a few people online doing that. What I'm just gonna do is drill a handful of holes around it and let them fall out. And then every time we put stuff in here, give it a good shake. I think that's a lot simpler mechanism, less likely, less prone to failure, less parts. Even spacing, I'm using these little ribs on the bottom of the bucket and then coming up with the height of the saw. They don't have to be perfect, but I'm just trying to make it look pretty nice. Do the best I can. So go between these two holes. Right there's a rib. Around here. You get the idea. I put those first 8 holes all the way around it, using the saw as a guide. Got one more I gotta clean up. Missed that one. Anyway, clean that up in a second. I decided that that may not be enough holes, so I came up between each set of holes and put another one along this line. 16 holes spread out like that. I think that's enough. I don't really know. I've never grown black soldier fly larvae, nor have I ever been a black soldier fly larva. So I want to be able to hang this on a T-post, and I don't want to hang it from the bale because if I do that, the lid's hard to get off. And I don't want this to be a struggle and a hassle for Sarah and the kids, or even for me. It's less likely to get used if it's a hassle. So I think what I'll do, not for any particular reason, but I think I'll leave the logo on the outside, and I'll come on the opposite side and drill 4 holes to hang it with. One last thing before I hang it, and that's to give a place for the females to lay an egg after they fly down in here. And apparently they like to lay their eggs in the cells of corrugated cardboard. So let's just cut this strip in half. And then we can just wrap both halves around here. Give lots of little places for them to lay their eggs. And then we're going to take a reusable zip tie and put it around there. A lot of people use rubber bands, but I really like these reusable zip ties. They're a lot more reliable, especially outside, than rubber bands are. And then I don't want to leave this long end sticking out, even though it's inside the bucket. Still not very kosher. So we're just going to trim that off. We don't want to trim it off completely because we want to be able to get the to release it, because these are reusable, and we want to make sure we round those sharp corners off. I haven't seen reusable zip ties before. They're like regular zip ties, but they got this little lever on there, and so you can, when you put them together, you can then push that lever in and pull it apart. They do have a limited number of times you can reuse them, but you can reuse them quite a few times. So let's go hang this guy up. Originally thinking about putting it over on the other side of the yard next to the garden, but then I'm like, I don't want the flies and all that near the garden, and also we're gonna have to fence the chickens out of that garden area when we get chickens. So I decided to put it over here on this side of the garden next to our composting area anyway. Makes sense, less trips. If you're bringing out the compost, you can have a black soldier fly larva bucket in one hand and a worm bucket in the other hand. Sorry about the neighbors with their RV and their tiny house. I think the tiny house is kind of cool, and I used to live in an RV, so I'm not going to complain too much, but that's what it's like living in a suburban homestead. I'm right on the edge of town. So anyway, we're going to set the lip of the bucket right on top of the T-post. And then we'll just take our reusable zip tie, run it through here, around the T-post. Better idea. I want to put the latch for the zip ties on the outside. So I'm just going to run it through here. And then I'll be able to crank it down. And I think having the lip of the bucket on top of the T-post will help hold it in place. Especially if this thing gets heavy. I don't know how heavy they get. I've never made one of these before. Now we're going to do the same thing. Trim up our zip ties. Make sure we don't leave any sharp edges. Now and up this high will help keep animals out, I hope. Now, unfortunately, because it's fall, you can see some of the leaves turning colors behind me. It's a little late in the year to get this started on this. So I got it built. We'll have to wait till spring in order to start using it. But we're prepared for when spring comes. We can just throw it in here. I wish I could be using it now, but that's just the way life works. The real reason I wish I could use it now is because tomorrow I plan on butchering some quail. And it'd be nice to go ahead and put their entrails and offal in here for the black soldier flies. So, if you like homesteading and preparedness related stuff, or discussions on how to live out the mission that God has given us, to be better husbands, fathers, to be better servant leaders of the community around us. None of us are perfect at that. Quite frankly, a lot of times I'm not even good at it. But I created a Telegram group so we can discuss all that stuff. Discuss homesteading, discuss preparedness, discuss living out our godly mission. The Telegram group is t.me/prepare to prosper, or you can just search prepare to prosper, or I'll put a link in the description. I hope you found this useful. I hope you go out and build one of these to help your family produce less waste and recycle that waste back into your homestead. And also, I hope you join me on Telegram so we can all learn from each other and we can all build each other up. So remember, we prepare today so we can prosper tomorrow. Now I gotta clean up this mess. Don't want to leave plastic all over the yard and all over the homestead.